everyone! Welcome to Tokyo Talk. I'm Mai, and today's word is pique.
And I'm Jack. Pique. That's an interesting one. It sounds a bit like peak or peak, but it has a totally different vibe, doesn't it?
Exactly. Pique, spelled P-I-Q-U-E, often means to arouse interest or curiosity. So, Jack, what piques your interest these days?
Good question. Lately, the art of bonsai has really piqued my curiosity. The way tiny trees can look like ancient giants is just fascinating. It's a real test of patience and meticulousness.
That sounds wonderful. When Jack mentioned meticulousness, he's talking about being very careful and precise. So, pique can also mean to feel irritated or resentful. For example, his sharp comments piqued her.
Right, like if someone cuts in line, that would definitely pique my annoyance. So it has a bit of a double edge. How would you explain the nuance between piquing curiosity and piquing annoyance, Mai?
That's a great point. The context is key. When we say something piques your interest, it's positive. But if someone's pride is piqued, it often means they're slightly offended or irritated.
So, like a sudden spark. It can be a spark of interest or a spark of irritation. Are there any common synonyms learners might get mixed up with?
Definitely. Words like interest, arouse, stimulate, or even annoy and irritate come to mind. We can explore those.
Let's start with arouse. How is pique different from arouse when we're talking about curiosity?
Good question. Arouse can be similar, meaning to awaken an emotion or response. However, pique often suggests a more sudden, sharp, and sometimes brief stimulation of interest. Arouse can be more general or intense.
So, a mysterious headline might pique my interest to read an article, but a long documentary could arouse a deeper interest in a subject. Makes sense.
Precisely. And what about stimulate, Jack? How would you differentiate that from pique?
Stimulate feels broader. It can mean to encourage activity or growth. A good debate can stimulate discussion, which is more ongoing than a momentary peak of interest.
That's a great way to put it. Pique is often the initial spark. For instance, the strange sound piqued the dog's curiosity. Here, stimulate might imply a more prolonged engagement.
Okay, now for the other side of pique, the annoyance. How does it compare to annoy or irritate?
When pique means to cause annoyance, it's often a milder, more specific irritation, perhaps tied to one's pride. Annoy and irritate can be stronger and more general feelings of displeasure.
So if someone makes a slightly condescending remark, it might pique me. But if a mosquito keeps buzzing in my ear all night, that would definitely irritate me beyond just being piqued.
Exactly. His condescending tone piqued her pride, but the constant noise from the construction site irritated the residents. The latter suggests a more persistent and stronger annoyance.
That clarifies things a lot. So, pique is quite a nuanced word, depending heavily on context for whether it's about curiosity or slight resentment.
It is. And listeners, it's a great word to add to your vocabulary for expressing those subtle feelings. Now, for a quick review, Jack, can you give us an example phrase using pique for interest?
Sure, the unusual advertisement was designed to pique consumer interest. How's that?
Perfect! When Jack says the ad was designed to pique consumer interest, it means it was intended to make consumers curious. Now, an example for piquing annoyance?
Okay, her dismissive wave piqued him more than her words. A subtle but sharp sting.
Excellent. Her dismissive wave piqued him means it caused a feeling of irritation or offense. Let's contrast pique and arouse. The trailer piqued my interest in the movie.
And for arouse, the documentary aroused a deep concern for environmental issues within the community. More profound, right?
Precisely. Pique for the initial spark, arouse for a deeper stirring. Practice using pique this week, everyone.